All right, gang, we're going to get this thing started momentarily. We are in a first alert weather day, as mentioned, because of the risk of tornadoes in the southern counties of the state. And we have a risk of, not even a risk, it's happening. Power outages, lots and lots and lots of power outages happening in the southern counties of the state. So, as is usually the case, there is much to discuss. If you're joining us, I would love it if you would comment. Let me know where you're watching this video from. That is always useful information for us. We appreciate that. If you have questions, fire away. I will do my best to answer those as I see them. So that's that. That's the story. So we have a first severe thunderstorm warning of the day in Alabama. It is out here in southwest Alabama. That is not at all surprising. Here you see it. It's for this cluster of thunderstorms affecting parts of Clark, Monroe, and Washington counties. It is primarily, pardon me, boy, I'm having a tough time. Primarily Clark County, but parts of Washington, parts of Monroe in this as well. Damaging straight line wind gusts, the main concern, up and down this line of storms. So that's, again, that's just the first one of, unfortunately, what will probably be many watches and warnings up and down this line of storms. So that's the view there. Here's the broader perspective. You'll notice most of South Alabama is pretty calm right now. I'll move the warnings off the screen here so that we can get a better look in at what I'm tracking on radar. Not a lot in Alabama, but these storms down here in the southwestern counties, these are going to push east-northeast over the next couple of hours. One or two of these could be strong to severe, so that's something we'll have to be keeping a close eye on there. Okay, so then the million-dollar question becomes, of course, well, what happens next? Well, that depends on where you live. From Montgomery southward, there is a risk of isolated tornadoes overnight tonight. So watch this with me as I go through this and understand that if you live north of Montgomery, the main concern is straight line or just wind, really not even associated with thunderstorms necessarily. The storms could make it worse, but wind even away from storms capable of producing power outages. South of Montgomery, that's where we're concerned about tornadoes, damaging wind gusts, things like that. So when you watch this data I'm about to show you, keep that in mind. That would be kind of a thing to consider here. So I'll go small so the data can go big. We like that. Go big or go home, right? So here's 11 o'clock. The model is initializing very well. That's the first thing I notice here. You compare what you see on the model to what you see, what I showed you on radar at the top of this video, and they're very, very, very close. Not a lot of difference in there. So that means the model is off to a good start. It means we can put a little more stock in it for what it shows later on. So here is, again, roughly now-ish. You've got a cluster of storms in southwest Alabama that is more or less behaving. Out ahead of it, rain, gusty wind, nothing severe or damaging, but some isolated power outages due to the strong wind. Okay, here's midnight. Same kind of scenario. Storms in southwest Alabama. So far, so good. But watch what happens here by 2 in the morning. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yuck. This thing sort of jumps the shark here in a bad way, right? So this is the latest run. This is, you'll notice as early as 2 in the morning, you start to see some rotating cells within that mess over in southwest Alabama. The best chance of that initially, again, would be places like Clark, Monroe, Escambia, Wilcox, Conecuh, Mobile, Baldwin, Washington, Choctaw, southwest Alabama, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Then from there, this becomes a really tough situation for us. You'll notice by 4 a.m., you've got this line of supercells that runs from Mobile to Selma. Notice north of Selma, it's sort of just rain. South of Selma, it's a little stronger than that. Okay? So this is all rotating at this point. So this would be isolated tornadoes, some of which could be strong, and damaging wind gusts. Again, southern Dallas, Wilcox, Clark, Monroe, Conecuh, Escambia, Washington, Mobile, Baldwin counties. This is valid at 4 in the morning. So here's 5. Same thing. From Montgomery right down I-65, that's a really tough looking line of storms, guys. that would be capable of producing isolated tornadoes and damaging wind gusts around 5 in the morning for places like Montgomery, for places like Lounsboro and Leadahatchee, back down into Butler County, back down into Conecuh County, Monroeville, Evergreen, Atmore, Escambia, Georgiana, Industry. Again, potentially as far north as the city of Montgomery itself. I think the worst of the tornado threat is south of the city of Montgomery, but it is close enough to where we're going to have to mention some tornado risk in Montgomery. Now, what I'm doing here is looking at the upper air sounding, and for Montgomery, it's really not warm enough to support a surface-based storm and a big tornado threat. But you go south of there, down here into South Alabama, how things change. Instead of it being 60 degrees, we're pushing 70. That's the difference. That's why that main tornado threat is going to be south of the city of Montgomery. Okay, so that is 5 a.m. 6 a.m., rotating storms extend from Macon County back through South Montgomery County, Pike County, Crenshaw County, Covington County, Escambia County. So this would be the main tornado threat at 6 a.m. would be places like Opp and Florala and Laverne and Highland Home and Troy and Orion and Ada and maybe as far north as Tuskegee, but I really suspect it's mainly south of there. Here's 7 o'clock in the morning. Main tornado threat now would be Union Springs, Bullock County, into Barber County, still Pike, still Crenshaw, still Covington, Coffee, Dale, Henry counties. Get in the mix here as well. By 8 a.m., this is almost out of the state. Lingering threat down in the Wiregrass counties. Same thing for 9 a.m. It's essentially just Houston County, and by 10, this thing's gone. So if you're asking about your specific city, town, community, neighborhood, pig trail, barbecue joint, church, understand that's the best data we have right now. So I'll wind it back and go through it with you again. So we'll start essentially now midnight. Scattered storms southwest Alabama. So far, most of these storms are north of the warm front, which means their main threat would be damaging straight-line wind gust. By 2 in the morning, the warm front surges northward, and we start to see some rotating storms across parts of southwest Alabama. This will be, again, as early as 2 in the morning for places like Wilcox, Monroe, Clark, Conecuh, Escambia, Mobile, Baldwin, and Washington counties. By 3 in the morning and 4 in the morning, it's still down in that general southwestern part of the state. Now, if you live from Selma to Montgomery to Tuskegee to Auburn and points north, this is mainly just a rainy, stormy night with a lot of wind, potentially enough to create wind damage. South of there is where the main tornado threat lines up. And you'll notice by 5 in the morning, South Montgomery County, South Lowndes County, Butler, Crenshaw, Monroe, Wilcox, Conecuh, Escambia counties. 5, 6, 7 a.m. This moves across the southern tier of counties, and that's where that main tornado threat lines up. Okay, let me show you this. You haven't seen this yet either. This is all new data, by the way. You didn't see this in the 10 o'clock news. You didn't see this in the previous updates we did on our CTV apps, on our First Alert Weather app, and the Facebook Live I did at 9:30. This is all brand new. Okay, so this is the significant tornado parameter. So here's midnight. You'll notice at midnight we really don't have much of a tornado threat yet. But watch what happens here. Those numbers get pretty high down in South Alabama. It's that 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. time frame. See that right down there? Now, if you're not familiar with the counties in the state, this county right up here, that's Montgomery County. All right? So this would be south of Montgomery, the city. But keep in mind, that tornado number gets up above 1, even into southern Lowndes, southern Montgomery, parts of Bullock County. So that would be about the northern extent of it. You live north of Montgomery, I really don't think this is your problem. But from Montgomery County points southward, that's where we're watching, that's where we're concerned. And the real bullseye, if you will, is going to be down here along Highway 84. So that's that significant tornado parameter. We're just kind of toggling it back and forth here from 3 in the morning till 9 in the morning when it's all gone. That's 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 9 a.m. So that's the real reason for concern in this whole thing is what you're seeing right there. If you have questions, jump in, ask away. I'll do my best to see those and answer them. Facebook is lollygagging. I got no lollygag in my game. I know it's midnight, but there's no lollygagging to be had around here. Okay, so I'll just jump in here and start asking some of the questions. Valley Grande, most of it stays south of you. Strong winds in Port Deposit, I believe it. Established pecan tree down in my yard. Melissa, everyone okay? Hope so. That's tough, man. A pecan tree, that's tough to lose. What about Beulah? Worst of it stays south of you. Tallapoosa County, worst of it stays south of you. Sweetwater getting loud, I bet. Yeah, this is a really windy system, guys. And for a lot of you, the wind really hasn't even showed itself yet. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Tamara says, I'm hearing I can go to sleep in Elmore. Yes, you can. Yeah, I would go to sleep if I lived in Elmore County. The main tornado threat likely stays south of you. If you get nervous, just get up and check Facebook. Check the First Alert weather app as well. We'll have updates for you there. Raymer, Alabama. Stay alert. We'll have to watch that 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. time frame in Raymer. That's down in South Montgomery County. It's right on the fringe. Close call. Worst of it's probably south of you, but it's close enough call. More questions. What about Elmore County? Yeah, worst of it goes south of Elmore. When is the greatest wind threat? Now through 10 a.m. tomorrow. What about Autauga County? Windy and wet night. Main tornado threat stays south of you. Hannah says, guess I'm going to go to sleep until about 3 here in Andalusia. Yeah, do you have a weather radio? I'd feel better about it if you did. If not, download the First Alert weather app and make sure the alerts are turned on and you're ready to rock with that. Highway 84, Covington County. Yes, Highway 84 does go through Covington County, Alex. And so that's going to be a threat area that we kind of maximize a little bit later on. We'll go back to the radar as we answer some of these questions. I'll animate this. New severe thunderstorm warning for Clark and Monroe counties. You see it there. That storm mainly a wind producer at this point, but the warm front is lurking just south of there. So that would be what I suspect will happen is we're going to start seeing some rotation in these storms, and our first tornado warning of this event for Alabama is probably going to be somewhere in here as these storms move into that environment and the warm front comes north. Until then, it's mainly a wind threat. We're really zeroing in there on Clark and Monroe counties. Strong straight line wind gusts there. Covington County, threat area through 3 a.m. Andalusia, threat area through at least 3 a.m. and probably later than that. What about Hope Hull? Worst of it is probably going to stay south of you from a tornado standpoint. Really windy, really wet night. Could be some power outages. And we'll have to keep an eye on the storms later for any potential rotation. Enterprise, tornado risk for you early tomorrow morning. This will be after, say, 3 a.m. I hate when it scrolls to the bottom because then I have to scroll back up and start answering questions again. And they're all the same question. It's just your city name and then a question mark. Thoughts on flooding potential? Southwest Alabama, yeah, I think 3 to 5 inches of rain could be some isolated flooding. Enterprise, yes, you're in that southern area. Tornado watch till 7 a.m. You got a severe weather risk. Notasulga, worst of it south of you. Marbury, worst of it south of you. How about Troy? Tornado risk there through about 7 a.m. What about East Chase? Worst of it south of you. Andalusia, tornado risk through 7 a.m. Elba, tornado risk through 7 a.m. Catherine, yes, I think the winds will be bad in Valley Grande. I think the winds will be bad pretty much everywhere tonight. What about Honoraville? You are on the fringe. You need to stay weather aware through about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, then things will get better. Tuskegee, you're right on the fringe here. I think the worst of it goes south of you, but you need to be paying attention just in case. Camden and Thomasville, you're right in the middle of it. Tornado watch till 7 a.m. Stay weather alert. Tornado threat in Sylacauga near 0. Most of this stays south of you. Enterprise and Elba, tornado risk continues there through 7 a.m. What about Auburn? Most of us stay south of you. Laverne at Fuller's Crossroads, you're in the threat area through 7 a.m. Can I sleep in Coffee County for a little while? Yes, you can. It won't get bad there till after 3. In between 3 and 6 a.m. for op, yes, that'll be the worst of it. Could get bad before 3. We'll keep an eye on it. Trying to fly from Dallas to Montgomery. On the runway in Dallas, what's it looking like? Let me show you. That's a great question. Dallas is fine. They're probably waiting to hear from Montgomery, though. That's really the kind of the problem area. And then you've got all this wind associated with the system that you would be trying to fly through. So it may be a challenging night for you. Safe to lay down in Corinth, Alabama, and Bullitt County. Worst threat would go south of you. Whether you should go to sleep or not, that's really up to you. I have no way of answering that question. What about Auburn? Worst of it south of you. Stay weather aware just in case. Can we go to sleep in Montgomery? Sure. Look, guys, if you have a weather radio and you have the First Alert weather app and your phone's not in silent mode and you've set the location to follow me, you can go to sleep during all of these events if you just have those things. We say these things over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So please just hear me out. If you have a weather radio and you have the First Alert weather app and your phone's not in silent mode and it's plugged in, go to sleep. Yeah, I mean, even if you're in the middle of the threat area, you don't have to stay awake all night glued to the radar screen. I know some of you will, and I'm here for you. We're going to hang out together. But the questions about can I go to sleep, those are, I don't understand the thought process there. If you have the weather app and you have the weather radio, you're good. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. You just have to have multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings that are capable of waking you up. All right, more questions. Still going to have 2 chances of severe weather and off. No, this is really, I think, a one-shot wonder. Worst of it about 3 to 6 a.m. Pike Road, worst of it stays south of you in Pike Road. Golly, these questions, I can't even keep up, man. The questions have updated. There's so many of them, I can't even see all of them. Will Dothan get anything? Yeah, there's a threat of severe weather in Dothan. That threat of severe weather will maximize tomorrow morning between about 4 and 9 a.m. Laverne at Fuller's Crossroads, stay weather aware. You've got you were close to a tornado area. Auburn, worst of it is south of you, but you should kind of keep an eye on things tomorrow morning. Or again, have our weather app handy, have the weather radio handy, and go to sleep. Don't worry about it. If something happens, it'll wake you up. New Brockton, you're under tornado watch till 7 a.m. Cottonwood, Alabama, don't be scared. Look, this is kind of a medium threat. We've been through worse, so we'll get through this. Carrie Ann, it's good to see you too. Welcome aboard. She said, good to see you, Josh. So, good to see you too. Valley Grande, worst of it is going to stay south of you. Tuscaloosa, worst of it stays way south of you. It's a really windy, wet night, but the tornado threat's South Alabama. Pike Road, worst of it stays south of you. Auburn, worst of it stays south of you. Opelika/Auburn, worst of it stays south of you. Auburn, worst of it stays south of you. What about Auburn? Worst of it stays south of you. Auburn with 3 question marks. Worst of it stays south of you. Tallapoosa and Clay County, worst of it stays south of you. What about Coosa County? Worst of it stays south of you. Beauregard, worst of it stays south of you. Alexander City, worst of it stays south of you. Plantersville, Selma, worst of it stays south of you. So when I say that, I mean the tornado threat. It's going to be windy and wet everywhere tonight with loud thunder. Everywhere. Tornado threat is primarily from Montgomery southward. Fort Deposit, you're on the fringe. Tornado risk could evolve for you early tomorrow morning. Eufaula, you got a tornado risk. Stay weather aware. Tallahassee, worst of it south of you. Tallahassee, worst of it south of you. How are the Cape values looking where the STP is around 8 to 10, Skylar? Most of those end up around 800 to 1,200 joules per kilogram. A lot of the STP right now is skewed because of the extreme wind shear. There's a ton of wind shear in the environment right now. That drives that STP number way up high. Highland Home, you need to stay weather aware. Ozark, weather aware. Macon County, worst of it is south of you. Highland Home, stay weather aware. Coosa County, worst of it south of you. All righty, the questions refreshed again. If I didn't get to yours, I'm sorry. I'm going literally as fast as humanly possible. I'm one of those stay up all night and watch the radar people. Well, Terry, welcome. We're glad to have you. I'm one of those people too, believe it or not. I get sad when I see people that are staying awake all night for no reason, and I know they're going to be bleary-eyed at work tomorrow and yell at their dog, because they're grumpy. So I try to just coach them through it. We okay to stay in a mobile home? Haley, I don't know where you live. That would really kind of determine the answer to that. If you live south of Montgomery, I would at least plan where I'm going to go in the event of a tornado. And if you can get there quickly, you can go to sleep, but just be able to get the warning and get out quickly. Macon County shorter, worst of it south of you. What about Abbeville? Tornado threat for you. It'll last through about 8 a.m. Will the temperature drop after this passes? Yes, Paige, like a rock it will drop. Big time. Amy Wood says, hey. Hey, Amy, how are you? Hope everything's good. Sonia Ford, Elmore County. Worst of it stays south of you. It's windy and wet all night. Highland Home, you're on the fringe. Stay weather aware 3, 4, 5, 6 tomorrow morning. Millbrook, worst of it stays south of you. It's very windy and wet all night, though. It's windy and wet everywhere. Lisa says, I'm just over here eating cookies in the bathtub. Don't judge me. Lisa, that honesty is rocking. I'm here for it. What about Autauga County? Looks bad on the radar later. Yeah, I get it does, but Autauga County, those storms will be what's called elevated, where they're basically on stilts. Those storms will be rooted above a layer of cold air, which makes it really hard for tornadoes to come all the way down to the surface. So Autauga County, it will be stormy, it will be loud, it will be windy. Main tornado threat likely going to stay south of Autauga County. No difference between a twister and a tornado, same exact thing. Louisville, Barber County, stay weather aware. You've got a threat level. Do you think we will get snow in Wilsonville in Monday and Monday night? I doubt it. There's a shot, though. Look, this pattern's going to get crazier before it gets more normal. I can tell you that. All righty, the question's refreshed, so let me try to jump back in here. Carrie, how wet will it get here in Opp? I had plans tomorrow. It will get very, very wet. 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. So it's going to be a soaker. Would be the best way to put that. What about Alabama State University? Worst of it stays south of you. Autauga County, wet, windy, tornado threat likely stays south of you. Can I sleep in a horizontal position in Wetumpka? Yes, in fact, it is recommended. Abbeville, Alabama, tornado threat continuing through the morning. What is the app for Sampson and Geneva area? Our app will work great down there. You can do the WSFA app. In fact, I would download 2 apps. I would download the WSFA app and the WTVY app. My friends David Paul and Zach Webster and that team down there, they do a phenomenal job. So they'll keep you going. We look out for those areas too. Selma risk level, tornado-wise, very low, windy and wet though. Can Demopolis go to bed? Sure, yeah. Main tornado threat stays south of you. It's a windy and wet night. Can you list some warning signs to watch for if we lose power in low cell signal areas? No, you won't see anything. It will be wet, windy, and anything that forms will be wrapped in rain. So no, charge your devices would be my best advice. Chancellor, Alabama. This doesn't happen much, but I really think you've stumped me. Where is Chancellor, Alabama? This is exciting. I get to learn something new. Chancellor. All right. It's on... You're down there between Enterprise and Geneva, it would appear. Close to Coffee Springs. Okay, so for you... you're in that tornado threat area, like right in the middle of it. So you need to stay weather aware through the night. Elba, same thing. What about Millbrook? Worst tornado threat stays south of you. What about Glenwood? You need to stay weather aware overnight tonight. Opp, same thing. Wetumpka and Titus area, very windy, very wet. Tornado threat mainly south of you. What about Alex City? Same thing. Whew, baby, we're fired up with these what about questions. Those are the ones that give me. North Montgomery, worst of the threat stays south of you. Can I stay in a trailer in Millbrook? Yes, I would, but I'd have a weather radio close at hand to be ready to move just in case. Southeast County, stay weather aware. Yep, that's the fact. Elba, same thing. Keep your shoes close by in case there's any damage. You don't get glass in your feet. Great idea. Also, lay out some helmets. Bike helmets, football helmets, baseball helmets, doesn't matter. Anything that covers your head will do a very good job. Lee says, I'm a bondsman, so nobody better go to jail tonight. It's always good advice. What's the time frame for the storms on Friday? Looks like late morning through early afternoon Friday. We're going to get this first one out of our hair first. Do you think Birmingham will get any snow coming up? I think that's possible. Yeah, I think it's more likely in the northern part of the state, though. Tornado threat for Millbrook near 0. Not quite there, but pretty close to it. Andalusia, you need to stay weather aware. Worst of it, probably 3 to 7 a.m. Northern Covington County, same thing. North Montgomery, worst of it, stays south of you. Elba, Houston County, stay weather aware. Carrie Ann says, well, I think the moisture is needed. Droughts, right? Yeah, you're exactly right. We have needed rain very, very badly for a long time. So this is going to be really good. Prattville can go to bed, Jessica. Yes, you can. It's going to be really windy and really wet, though. You just go into this with the right expectations. What about Auburn University? Worst of it south of you. Somebody say Deatsville yet? I'm sure 1,000 people have said Deansville yet, and the answer is exactly the same. If it's north of Montgomery, if it's from the city of Montgomery and points north, the tornado threat is very low to near zero. The farther north you go, the closer it gets to zero. Farther south you go, the higher the tornado threat gets. How are we looking in Laverne? You need to stay weather aware. It looks really bumpy down there. Stormy, windy, wet all night. Could be some tornado activity later. Both of the apps for South Alabama, Geneva County, I would do WSFA and WTVY. For most of you watching, you only need the WSFA app. Greenville, yeah, looks stormy down that way later. Can Selma go to bed? Sure. Auburn, Opelika, worst of it south of you. What about the blade of grass in my yard by the tree? I meant to tell you the neighbor's dog peed on that blade just yesterday. I have a question. What is the dyed sun-kissed chance? It's pretty doggone high. I need to go get some right now. Tornado warning in Hawaii earlier. Yes, that if you had put that open for gambling in Vegas, where will will there be a tornado warning earlier in Alabama or Hawaii this year? Everyone would have bet Alabama, and we all would have lost. Let's see here. What's Geneva looking like? Tornado threat for you overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. How bad is it going to get at 4:30 to 5 a.m.? That depends on where you live, Cheyenne. You're in Millbrook. It will be windy and wet at that time frame. What about UAB? Windy and wet in that time frame. No real way to sugarcoat any of it. How is Calera going to be? Windy, really wet, nasty stuff. Okay, so what I want to do now, I want to go back over to this computer. So what I want to show you now is some more stuff. Some more things that are going to happen. We talk a lot about that phrase, first alert. I want to give you one for Friday. Okay, so what happens? Well, here's the overall weather pattern right now. Big, deep storm system, strong area of low pressure. Sub 1,000 millibar low over the Ozarks, trailing cold front. Warm air surging out of the Gulf out ahead of it. That's a pretty classic severe weather setup. We'll interrupt that to answer one smart question here. Storms south of here seem to have been pretty tame so far, thankfully. Why do you think that is with the high parameters? Because it's not warm enough yet, even in South Alabama. That's really the reason here that we haven't seen things go crazy yet, is because the warm front is still way down to the south. When you go look for warm air, you have to go way down in the Mobile and Baldwin counties. So the really super storm supportive air is in the process of moving north now. And the main line of storms that will interact with that is still way back to the west. Let me show you this radar. So this is, check this out. So there's the line of storms here in South Alabama. The warm front, the warm air is still along the coast. It's going to move north over the next few hours. And by the time the line back here gets over here into South Alabama, that warm air will have arrived. This stuff out ahead of it, mainly just wind producers. It's back here. That's where we're going to have problems with that number 2 line of storms back there. So just a little quick and dirty analysis there to kind of walk you through the whole thing. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so back to the computer map. So I was making the point for you that you've got this pretty classic severe weather setup ongoing right now. You've got a sub 1,000 millibar low northwest of us, warm air streaming it out ahead of it. Okay, so let's show you what happens next here. So that cold front zips on through the state, or zips on across the deep south. Life gets cold, big shot of cold air Tuesday afternoon. Snow flurries as far south as Lookout Mountain and the North Georgia mountains. Ground turns white in the Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. Weak Clipper goes north of us Thursday, no big deal. Then Friday, look what happens. Sub 1,000 millibar low, close to Memphis, Tennessee. Trailing cold front, warm air surging in out of the Gulf ahead of it. In other words, pretty typical, pretty normal, pretty textbook severe weather setup. This is Friday. This will be Friday at 9 a.m. And there is, we'll zip forward to Friday. This will be Friday at noon. Sub 1,000 millibar low moving over Cape Girardeau, trailing cold front into East Mississippi. Out ahead of it, warm air surging in off the Gulf of Mexico. In other words, here we go again. We'll show you this. So this would be valid again. We'll switch over to a little tighter view. This would be valid at noon on Friday. Temperatures in the 70s, southeasterly surface winds, strong cold front. In other words, guys, we may very well end up doing this again on Friday. And then you get into next week, and whoo boy, does that get wild, weird, woolly, and wow. Really super duper cold next week. Maybe some wintry possibilities in there, too early to tell yet. So there you have it. Lisa, thank you. You are too kind. Lisa is a great human being. It's always nice to hear from her. Let's dive into more of these questions. Do you think there's any chance the warm air won't get through? Jackie, it's not a yes or no. It's a how far north does it get? I think it's going to get about as far north as southern Montgomery County. So that's really, to me, that's why I've said Montgomery and point south all day for this event. Could it move further north? Yes, it could, but we've got really good model agreement that it will move that far north. One thing that we'll watch for, does this initial batch of storms here kind of keep the warm air from moving farther to the north? I don't think it will, because a lot of the wind back here is coming in out of the southwest or due south. So it doesn't really form a very good blockade, so to speak. Is there a way to make my app alert me for a different city? Yeah, you can set the location to that location, and it will do that. What if this system came through in the spring? It'd be pretty rough. Janice, do you have any help at the station, Josh? Yes, I do. Tyler may be here already. I have to go look for him. If not, he's going to be here any minute now. Let's see, more questions. Well, I'm going to need more cookies for Friday. You should share. I'm just saying. Dothan, Alabama update, please, just joining. Hi, welcome. We're glad to have you. It will be quite windy, quite wet, and potentially stormy. Maybe some tornadoes early tomorrow morning. I'm talking for Dothan area, probably 5 to 9 a.m. What about Lexington, South Carolina? I do not know. I know most of South Carolina is in a severe weather risk with this system during the afternoon and evening on Tuesday. That's really not my area of expertise. So I know you got a severe weather threat. You need to stay weather aware. That's about as much as I should say, probably, without it being, that's really, again, kind of out of my area. Should I buy my milk and bread yet? I don't know. Do you need toast? If so, get you some. Is Lee County in the risk? Right now, I think Lee County will be on the far fringe of it. Most of the worst of it's going to stay south of Lee County, in my opinion, but it's close enough to where we'll need to watch. Lexington, South Carolina, should I relocate? I'm in a trailer that's barely even standing as it is. If that's the case, then yes, you should relocate. Lexington, I know, has a severe weather risk, but again, I would tell you it's really out of my area. What about Brundage? What about South Alabama Enterprise? Are you still on the Diet Sunkissed kick? Heather, I am forever on the Diet Sunkissed kick. Just so you know. All right, some requests to start the whole thing over, which I don't mind doing. I will show you this, by the way, just because I'm a glutton for punishment. I want to show you, before we go back to the severe weather, I want to show you how cold it may get here. Okay, so this is all raw data, but we'll just zip through it here. Okay, so it gets cold on Tuesday, really windy, raw. Wednesday, same thing, frosty morning. Warm on Friday with some severe weather possible. Then it gets cold this weekend, guys. We'll probably go below freezing Saturday morning. Highs on Saturday probably stuck in the 40s. Saturday afternoon, pretty chilly stuff, okay? Then you get to early next week. It's cold, but not crazy cold on Monday. But watch what happens Monday, as the day unfolds, Mother Nature goes ham on us. Look at this. So at lunchtime Monday, it's 49 degrees. Now remember, it was 51 at 9 a.m. So we went 51 to 49. And then watch this. 3 hours later, it's 36 in the middle of the afternoon. And then when the sun goes down, it's 30. And we're dropping through the low 20s out here in West Alabama in the middle of the afternoon. Again, this is MLK. This is Monday, January the 15th. And then the cold pushes on in. And by the time the sun comes up, Tuesday morning, we are in the single digits as far south as Birmingham. We're below zero in North Alabama, and we have pipe bursting weather across a huge chunk of our area. Afternoon temperatures on Tuesday barely go above freezing, and in some places they will not. And then it's just as cold, if not colder, on Wednesday morning. Look at this. Single digits into Sumter and Marengo counties. This is not the wind chill, by the way. This is the actual air temperature. So that could be pretty wild. Back to the questions. Someone named Machete. It says we're out of the zone, but this system is pushing way further north to the west of us than they anticipated at all. That's not true. This system is behaving almost exactly as we thought it would so far. Maybe that continues, maybe it doesn't, but This is all going to script, guys. It's going to be a windy, wet, stormy night everywhere. The tornado risk is mainly in South Alabama. And that's really the best, fast, and only way I can think to say it. What about Prattville? Same thing. Wet, windy, stormy tonight. Severe weather threat. Tornado threat south of you. Well, if this is right, and it does get that cold, there may very well be some wintry weather concerns in this. By the way, let's check this, guys. The European computer model will be coming out right about now. See, y'all don't know this, but like every single day when I go home from work, if there's any sort of weather event happening, I stay awake and look at the new GFS, and then the new European starts trickling out around midnight, and I will stay awake through that too, because I have a problem, a weather problem. I'm a weather geek. Yeah, really windy. Amy, you're exactly right. That wind is howling everywhere. That is literally everywhere. North, south, east, west. I'm talking Huntsville to Mobile, Demopolis to Dothan. North, south, east, west. It's a windy, windy, windy night. Like super crazy windy. Okay, so here's the European model for Friday. Yeah, that's just a pretty classic severe weather setup. Look, that may be worse than this. Okay, so that's lunchtime Friday off the European. Let's see what it looks like here. Man, you got a classic wind shear profile. Your thermodynamics are not really storm supportive, but I suspect that will probably change with time. So let's do this. Let's go and look at it. This would be Friday. Let's go to 21Z. You got temperatures up in the 60s. Winds coming in. It looks like we've mainly gone southwest. So that would probably argue for more of a damaging straight line wind threat, but there definitely could be tornado. You got a 982 surface low in southern Illinois. That is a tornado. You really would have to be concerned about some tornado problems there. Again, this would be Friday. Man, no rest for the weary, is there? All right, well, we'll worry about that later on. Rather have snow than tornadoes. You and me both. You and me both. Yeah, like with these models, the reason I look at them every day, I am a weather geek, but I also like doing a good job. And it is like, it's like being a football coach in some ways. If you don't watch the film of your opponent, you're not going to do a very good job preparing your team to play in the game. And that's sort of the way I look at this job, is that. It's like looking at film. You got to do it every day. You got to be committed to it. You got to, like, it doesn't stop, right? I mean, the weather doesn't stop. And so if I look at these models every single day, then I develop a really nice knowledge of them. I know their biases. I know what they get right. I know what they get wrong. So it really is a lot like just, you got to watch the film, man. You know, I mean, you got to dive into the stuff. So that Friday deal, if it gets warm enough, that's going to be a problem. Just with the track there and the wind fields, that's going to be an issue. Here in Alabama, you can get tornadoes and snow in the same day. Jessica, I actually remember that happening. It happened in March of 2009. We had an EF2 tornado hit Salem in Lee County, and then less than 24 hours later, there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. Same county. So there you go. How's Montgomery looking? Any tornado threat? We are at Wind Creek, Montgomery for the night. First off, welcome to Montgomery. We're glad to have you. Wind Creek, really great place. I think you'll enjoy that. Tornado threat in Montgomery, it's not zero, but it is very low. It ramps up higher as you go to the south. Do I anticipate strong tornadoes in southeast Alabama? I think they're possible. If I knew right now they were going to form, I'd go on TV right now. But you know, the ingredients are there. The ingredients are coming together, but you know, until it actually happens, you really don't know. You just watch radar trends back to the west, back to the south, and kind of see how it all turns out. What about Honoraville? What about Troy University? Joseph Boss Williams is asking about every college in this state, I think. Troy, you're in a severe weather risk area. You need to stay weather aware early tomorrow morning. By the way, look at, wow, man, these thunderstorms, even away from the storms right now, Mobile Regional Airport, away from a thunderstorm, just took a 68 mile per hour wind gust. It's not an exaggeration to say we've had named tropical systems come through that didn't produce as much wind as this thing's going to. That's why we declared a first alert weather day. We don't do those willy-nilly. We don't do those for ratings. We don't do those for fun. We don't do those to hype the weather. WSFA had great ratings way before I got here. They had great ratings way before First Alert Weather Days were a thing. They'll have great ratings way after all of that, way after I'm gone, way after First Alert becomes a new catchphrase. This place doesn't have to hype the weather to get ratings. We have a checklist. We have criteria that we use to call those days, and this one checked a lot of boxes. Tornado threat, yes. Strong tornado threat in South Alabama, the answer to that is yes. Widespread, strong wind capable of producing power outages that affects a lot of people, yes. So 68 mile an hour gust at Mobile Regional Airport, that is intense. That is something. Warm front currently extends from Laurel, Mississippi to just south of Jackson. So the warm front is coming north. The storms we're dealing with now are still right along it. But there's no doubt, by the time that main line that we're tracking back in Mississippi, by the time Big Bubba back here comes through, it will be warm enough to support tornadoes along and south of that line right there. So from Montgomery south, we're going to have some problems a little bit later on. 25 new comments. I'm kind of scared to scroll down. And hey, I see a lot of people talking about the radar looking rough around 4 a.m. You're exactly right. The issue is those storms will likely be elevated. They're up on stilts. So they will be really rough storms capable of producing wind damage, maybe some small hail, really super loud thunder. But because they're up on stilts, up above a layer of cold air. So what's happening with a tornado-producing storm, typically the air between the tornado cloud, between the wall cloud and the ground, is warm and muggy. North of Montgomery, that's not going to be the case. From the wall cloud down to the ground, it's cold. That makes it really hard for that tornado circulation to make it all the way to the ground. It almost never happens. So That's why I know on radar you see it. It looks really spooky. And look, it will be really stormy. It will be really nasty. Wetumpka, Prattville, places like Montgomery, places like that. But the tornado threat is essentially zero because of that. It's a matter of physics. Cold air is undercutting the storms there. So I hope that helps give you some peace of mind. It will not be fun, but the tornado threat north of Montgomery is really close to zero. We have an official name, Big Bubba. Big Bubba does need to calm down. Joseph Boss Williams is a professor. That's why, okay, I see you over there. How about that? Put some respect on that, he says. That's Dr. Williams to you, Mr. Josh. Well, hey, thank you for your service, professors. Teaching the next generation. That's really good stuff. So, there you have it. Any other updates? Lots of power lines down up in North Alabama. Let me do this. I want to see what our power outage number is at right now in the state. 41,000 without power. A lot of those up in North Alabama. Again, it hasn't even really stormed up there, but that's where we're having a lot of outages. Got 500 plus outages in Butler County. Got almost 1,000 in Clark. Over 200 in Washington County. 8,000 in Mobile County. 2,800 in Baldwin County. So, there you go. Big Bubba needs to be benched. I agree. Look, that's the difference between me and a coach, I guess, is that we watch a lot of the film, so to speak, and look at a lot of the data, but we really have no control over any of it. I don't get to call a single play or bench anyone. Boy, if I could, I would be at home in bed right now because I would have benched Big Bubba. We would have taken Big Bubba out of the game. So, just so you know. The wind just took 10 off my shed in Greenville. I believe it. Yeah, this is a really tough storm system. If this one is Big Bubba, what do you think we should name the storm system on Friday? That's a great question. So I'm open to suggestions. It kind of just has to come to you in the moment, you know. Big Ben, yeah, that could work. We'll see how it goes. That'll be a good tentative one. We can go with Big Ben. Gertrude. It's hard to take a Gertrude seriously. Gertrude sounds like the lady at church who makes a really phenomenal turkey and dressing. Brings it to the potluck. Everybody calls her Aunt Gert because they all love her. She's a pillar of the community. Any severe threat for Central Alabama? No, not really. Now look, Reagan, when I say that, I mean tornadoes. In Central Alabama, it's going to be really stormy, really loud thunder, a lot of wind, and scattered power outages. So look, the weather will be rough. The weather will be nasty in Central Alabama. The tornado threat, though, is mainly south of the city of Montgomery. So there you have it. I need a refill, man. I'm out of my Diet Coke from dinner this evening. Big Bertha. Now we got 2 votes for Big Bertha. That's a pretty stout one. Back up Terry, that could be good. Leroy Brown, the baddest man in the whole town, right? Isn't that? Oh, Leroy Brown. I think we need to put Friday in some rice. I agree. Reboot, restart, do something. Do something other than what we're doing, right? Look, and I told a lot of people this in person. I didn't want to say it on TV because I really try very hard to never panic anyone. Panic's a bad decision mechanism. It doesn't help you make good decisions. But I try to tell anyone who would listen, we've been in this pattern for a while now And eventually, it was going to get warm enough ahead of one of these storm systems to cause problems. And this is where we are. With this pattern, when you have these sub 1,000 millibar lows moving northwest of you, it's really just a matter of time until you get it too warm out ahead of it. We get some storms, and that's the deal. Lake Martin, big tornado threat south of you. Is Montgomery going to be under the tornado watch? I doubt it. Can't say no for sure, but I doubt it. When is your next live on TV or Facebook? Well, right now, Lisa, we're in a pattern where we're just watching the radar to see what happens. When we get a tornado warning or any life-threatening weather, we will pop on television and let you know about it. So that would be the TV part of this. Facebook Live, I'm going to hang here for a while. I'm eventually going to take a little bit of a break. We'll go an hour. I've been on 51 minutes. We'll stay on with this an hour, and then I will get deeper into some analysis. That's the other thing. If I'm talking, it's really more difficult to do the analysis. And Ken, there is a tornado warning just got issued. It's down here in South Mississippi. I'll show it to you. So this is a tornado warning that was just issued northwest of Biloxi. This is a possible tornado very near Interstate 10, maybe a tick north of I-10, northwest of downtown Biloxi. So if you have family or friends who live in that part of the world, let them know about it. There's your rotation right there, just north of the interstate. Could be a little secondary rotation forming south of there. What is it looking like for Prattville? I'm terrified. You should not be terrified in Prattville. It is going to be a windy, wet night in Prattville with loud thunder. Could be some power outages. The tornado threat is going to stay well south of you in Prattville. So, again, everybody take a big, deep breath in Prattville. Back to that tornado warning storm. That's the first one I've seen in the deep south out of this thing. So that's the main line still back here. These storms are now south of the warm front. Remember, the warm front runs from about Laurel back over into Clark County. So anywhere, I'll draw that line again, anywhere south of that line down in here, it's warm enough now for tornadoes. This line will move towards the east-northeast and will eventually, in my opinion, end up somewhere like, probably something like that later on tonight into tomorrow morning. So that would be the zone down here where we are most likely to have tornadoes. Again, south of Montgomery. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 10,000 times. There's really no reason to be terrified anywhere. If you have a weather radio, if you've got the First Alert weather app, if you have a plan, you know where you're going to go, you'll be fine. Evan, no, you are the best. Thank you for your patience, your time. Call Friday storm, woza. I like that. That's good. Terrified in Troy, don't be. Terrified in Op, don't be. Just pay attention to the weather overnight tonight. No, you shouldn't be terrified anywhere. I don't want anyone to ever be terrified about this stuff. And I get it. It can be that way, especially if you've been in one before. Understand that. But you have been through worse setups than tonight. And again, if you've got a way of getting warnings, you know where you're going to go, you get there quickly, you prepare, you have a plan, you're fine. You're going to be okay. So there you go. 54 minutes in, I'm going to go an hour, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break. No, the line is not south. Look, Eufaula, you will be in the threat area. That will definitely, you will be in a tornado situation later. You're not in a tornado watch now, but you're definitely in an area where we would need to pay attention. So, man, we've got a special celebrity guest here, you guys. The man, the myth, the legend.
Hey.
Tyler.
What's it been like so far? Anything crazy?
Seabree. Got a tornado warning down in South Mississippi.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wind producers over in Choctaw and into Monroe and Clark. The warm front is moving north. Birmingham initialized it as roughly Laurel, Mississippi, back over into Clark County. So it's coming north. So it's going to be a bumpy night.
Probably up to US 80 then, I would say, right?
Close, yeah.
Close.
maybe a tick south of there, but so.
It is windy as can be outside right now.
Lewis saying, so Montgomery is clear. No, Montgomery is not clear. I think the worst tornado threat goes south of the city of Montgomery, but it will be close enough to where you'll need to be weather aware. Jackie, I don't think I've ever had so much anxiety over a storm. Jackie, don't. Please, 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 please. We're watching this. You're well prepared. You've got a plan. You're paying attention. We got you. Don't be anxious. I promise. Update for Bon Secours down in South Alabama. Stormy. We're watching several storms around you. You're in a tornado watch. You need to stay weather aware. Again, that's Bon Secours.
Anything from Birmingham about adding other counties to the watch?
Not yet. What's the safest place to be in your home? Lowest floor, hallway, bathroom, or closet in a site-built home. In a mobile home, you got to get out. Does this setup allow for a good heads up on warnings? Yes, I think it does. You always have to watch for those quick spin-ups between radar scans, but overall, I think we'll get pretty good warnings out tonight. What's up?
No, I was just gonna. Are these surface-based right here? Do I need to get mic'd up right now, or are we good for a minute?
I think we're
or-
good for now, yeah.
Okay.
I'm mic'd up too, so if something pops.
Okay.
But yeah, I doubt we're surface-based anywhere other than like Southern Clark, Southwestern Monroe.
Okay.
Okay, when you say south of Montgomery, do you mean Montgomery city limit or Montgomery County? I actually mean the city of Montgomery. This is one where I think South Montgomery County has a noticeably higher tornado risk than northern Montgomery County. It's fringish for both, honestly, but I really mean south the city of Montgomery. I see you live in Pike Road. You should pay attention. Sure, you need to pay attention. You need to be weather aware. You need to have the weather radio. You need to have the First Alert Weather app. Do I think the highest tornado risk is you? No, it's not. It's south of you. But it doesn't take the highest risk. It just takes some risk. So pay attention. If you live in Montgomery County, you need to pay attention. You're not in a tornado watch. You can go to sleep. But you do need to have multiple ways of getting weather alerts that can wake you up. Download the First Alert Weather app. Take your phone out of silent mode. Allow the app to follow your location, and you'll get those alerts. They'll wake you up. If you have a weather radio, that's a winning combination. So best answer I can give you, Kara. Hope you have a wonderful night. Does any streaming service carry all live? Yes, we have an app on Roku, on Apple TV, on Fire Stick. Just search WSFA. Alrighty, we are now at an hour, so I'm going to turn this thing loose because I need to hydrate, caffeinate, and do some analysis. I'll do my best to answer the questions in the comments. I won't get to all of them, but I'll do my best. Main points here, again, everyone in the state. It's windy tonight. It's wet. There's super loud thunder. And a lot of you are going to have power outages, even away from storms. That is for everyone. Okay. Second thing, some storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts and or tornadoes. Highest chance of tornadoes comes from the city of Montgomery and points southward from there. The farther south you go, the higher the tornado risk. Damaging wind is a concern right now with storms moving into Clark and northern Monroe counties. Linda asking about that specifically, so I'll give you a little parting analysis here. That's a rough storm, Linda, northern Monroe County. And one thing I would watch for, this little appendage down here on the bottom of that thing, west of Monroeville, there's definitely some rotation in it. Right now, it appears to be mid-level rotation. That's a good thing, but that could change at any moment now with the warm front lifting north, and in that area, that could help spin something up. So Monroe County, you need to be paying attention. We are, and you should be too. The whole line moves east over the next several hours, now through 9 a.m., severe weather possible, including tornadoes, south of the city of Montgomery. After 9 a.m., this all moves into Georgia, and it becomes a distant memory. All right, so I'm going to go hydrate, caffeinate, dominate, and look at some data. We'll do another Facebook Live a little later on this morning. We've got Today in Alabama coming up at 4:30 in the morning. Tyler and I will both be on that, so we'll be able to walk you through what's happening then. Of course, if we see anything life-threatening at all, we will interrupt programming And you can watch that on WSFA and on the First Alert Weather app. Now, we typically stream that severe weather coverage live on the WSFA station Facebook page. But that's not a guarantee. So don't rely on Facebook here. You want to rely on the weather app. If you have a connected TV, search WSFA wherever you get your apps for your TV service. You can stream it there as well. If all else fails, get on your phone or your computer, go to WSFA.com/livestream. You can watch it there. So you got options. But just don't rely exclusively on Facebook. That can be a problem. So, all right, yeah, plug your phones in, plug your iPads in, plug your computers in. If it has battery in it, charge it in case you lose power. We'll be here for you all night tonight and all morning tomorrow. And